on the Barcelona side, okay, Xavi on the sidelines, very, very angry. Did not get himself sent off this time.
No.
And was very measured after the game because, if I say stuff, I'll get in trouble. Unhappy with two decisions. One of them, I think the VAR ball that doesn't cross the line, there's no goal line technology in Spain.
I mean, the fact that there's no goal line technology in Spain is absolutely bonkers.
There's no goal line technology in La Liga, and there's no automatic offside.
You know how much goal line technology cost, yeah?
How much?
3.5 million euros to buy the license from FIFA. Do you tell me that Javier Tebas and La Liga don't have 3.5 million to spend on goal line technology for their league?
It's not just the license. I think it's also the equipment. No, right?
Yeah, but just the most expensive is to get the license, to pay 3.5 million to get that.
It's an obvious one, but the other thing...
How can you justify not having goal line technology
even something even cheaper, right? They have a camera on the goal line, so you can clearly see across. But obviously, if the goalkeeper's, green body, in Lunen's case, is in front of it, you can't see the ball. But hey, if we put a camera on the other side as well, like Lunen can't be in two places at once, then it's not going to be perfect. However, I don't have an issue with that. If you don't see clearly crossing the line, there's no definitive picture, you don't get it, right?
There's one angle where it looks like he's way in, but then you're right, it's not.
No, but that's the parallax view angle.
Yeah,
that's the distorted angle.
That's why. But this one looked like, if you're Barca fans, and I think a lot of them were outraged with that angle, but you don't know.
The other thing, the Cubarsi on Lucas Vázquez for the penalty, which I don't know. You can say Lucas Vázquez played for it, but...
Well, I don't. For me, it's a penalty every day.
I think it's a penalty. Yeah,
his legs is there, like Cubarsi's leg. Next time he will learn to stay still and his legs with his body, not extend his leg.
But beyond that, I thought Barcelona played well.
Me too, I agree.
But it comes back to one thing, and I don't want to keep picking on him because I am a huge fan of him going forward. But Cancelo again, I don't understand. Like, do people just make themselves? Does he have a vision problem? Like, do people make
I think
himself...
it's just concentration. I think he's just not a defender. So if you're not a defender and you play in defense, there's a problem there coming. How can you cost 4 goals to your team in 5 days?
You can say he's not a defender. He's played there for the last,
but
8 years?
He doesn't have the mentality and the bearings of a defender. Just on Cancelo, because we talked about Pau Cubarsi, if it's a foul or not on Lucas Vázquez. But it should not have gone to that anyway, because Cancelo, for once, read the Lucas Vázquez dribble well. So he's in front of him, and then somehow Vázquez just goes around the other side and gets the ball back and then faces Cubarsi one-on-one. I just don't understand, because you say he's been a defender for many years now, which is true in a position. But he should have learned by now, or like check where your forward is, check where your marking is, which he still doesn't. He makes the same mistake that when he was at Juventus.
At Juventus, at Inter, at City.
Yeah. At Valencia.
He gives you so much going forward, and this is the part that I struggle with. If you think he's so valuable to your team, and I think he can be really valuable, I mean, at some point, does it go on to Xavi to say, all right, instead of this is not a back four, this is a 3.5, or we're going to figure out a different way of playing so that there's always somebody with him to help him out, if we think he's so valuable. In the same way that when we have a phenomenal number 10 who doesn't run, look, Juan Romero Riquelme, whatever,
you adapt, I guess.
You adapt around him.
But you've said you think if Balde had been fit, Cancelo would not be playing, right?
I look, yes, well, 100% he wouldn't be playing. I mean, in some games, maybe he'd be playing right back instead of Koundé or whatever, right? In fact, I really don't want to single somebody out, but it is a fact, I think, that if Balde plays against Paris Saint-Germain, I mean, maybe they make other mistakes, but I don't remember Cancelo being devastating going forward in that game either.
No, he wasn't.
That Barcelona could still be in the Champions League. And Barcelona could have at least taken a point from this Clásico. Yeah. And I think when we look back to all the injuries that, De Jong now is injured as well. Obviously, Gavi's been out Gavi's going to miss the rest of the season.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of injuries. I think Balde somehow gets lost in the shuffle a little bit, because when somebody gets injured, a lot of it is about his replacement, right? So when things don't work out, Romeo didn't get injured, but it just wasn't good. So you kind of patched it over with Christensen somehow, and Gavi goes down, but there's Pedri, Yamal comes up, blah, blah, blah. You've had all these things. But this is one guy in Balde where he goes out, and the guy who replaces him, just makes these crucial mistakes in massive games.
That's massive, the two.
And I think this has really, really affected them.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I liked what I saw from Barcelona, except, in fact, Cancelo's one guy I got to pick up on. The other one is Lewandowski, who also threw a little hissy fit when he was substituted.
I mean, 6 games in a row without scoring.
All right.
It's a lot.
And somebody out there's going to say, oh, it's just frustration. Striker wants to score. Like, dude, you have to be more of a leader on this team and understand the situation and understand that was it 20 minutes ago he came off? Something like that?
Yeah.
When you act that way, you're undermining your manager and you're undermining your team on the way out. And I know some players do it and nobody likes to be substituted. But you've been in that situation before. Maybe you're not used to being substituted. Fine.
Yeah.
But it creates an environment of unsettled Barcelona, not in control Barcelona, even though at that stage in the game, I'm not saying they were in control, but they were in a good position.
Yeah.
I just really think it's been disappointing.
I just think there's also a problem, whether it comes from Xavi or the leaders in that team, so Gundogan, Ter Stegen, Araujo, Lewandowski, whoever, that there's a time where, okay, maybe when they were 2-1 up, they should have seen the game out. But maybe it's difficult because, as we've said, Real Madrid finished their game really strongly. Carlo has this habit this season to make his subs really late. Really rarely before the 71st minute, which means that the impact from those subs for the last 20 minutes or so is usually quite strong. So when you can put Brahim Diaz, for example, when you can put Joselu on, they add, I think, and that's why they finished strongly. But suddenly at 2-2, like in the first Clásico back home, you can't concede again. You see the game out, get a draw. I don't know if Xavi has to change something. I don't know if mentally those players kept attacking because they thought we're playing well here, we can go and win this 3-2, us and not them. But I think it's really bad to concede that last goal. The last goal should have never been conceded.
Other positives, I saw more from Pedri in this game than I saw before. Lamine Yamal, obviously.
Well, Yamal was great.
Again.
But against Camavinga, which I'm not really sure that was a really good pick from Carlo, to be fair.
It's but you love Camavinga. Was
Yeah,
he not
but
fully fit?
when Mendy's fit, I mean, I don't understand how you can justify picking Camavinga ahead of Ferland Mendy at left back.
I think because Camavinga gives you more going forward, and you hope that Mendy does. And also, I know Mendy's had a better season this year than last year when he's played, but I don't know that Mendy is Real Madrid material.
I think he's unbeaten at the Bernabeu when he plays for Real Madrid.
Yeah, Real Madrid don't often lose games at the Bernabeu.
I disagree with you. I mean, they might sell him, and I mean, Alphonso Davies is coming anyway. I think he's been good this year, and we saw that Camavinga he can be a makeshift left back, but not against Lamine Yamal. It's just like, he got done a lot of time. He got the yellow, which was a clever yellow, because it can't be a red. He's not the last defender. He's just before giving away a penalty, but he struggled a lot of times.
Mentioned Lucas Vázquez. Want to give him some more
legend.
Love. We talked about actually wingers playing at fullback, right? This is a guy who breaks into the first team in Real Madrid. When he broke in, people got excited, and then eventually people were like, "Yeah,
he's just a good player. That's it.
He's he's a role player.
Yeah,
right?
he's a squad player.
But then to accept that role, to reinvent himself, a right back when needed, kind of I don't want to say defensive winger because, he knows he has to work his butt off to get into the starting lineup. And to be able to contribute in the way he has, because Carvajal is in his 30s now. He's not getting any younger.
Yeah.
He's had his injuries. He can give you one great game and then, kind of half-ass at the next. I think one of the strengths of Real Madrid is people like Lucas Vázquez, people like Nacho and stuff. They rarely let you down, even though you don't want these guys starting for obvious reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's
considering the goal the penalty that he scored at City in that kind of environment, the pressure, juggling the ball, scoring it cleanly, and then 4 days later to put a performance like that in a Clásico is pretty amazing.
I'm a Brahim Diaz guy, as you know. Part of me says, dude, you're a legit right winger. Why doesn't Carlo play you? Like, I wonder if you can't do that because obviously you're not going to leave out Rodrigo. But just for balance, when he comes on, it changes everything because you go from Valverde, who, A, is playing further back anyway to begin with, and B, when he makes the runs, he always makes the same kind of runs. And you also know there's not going to be any creativity from Valverde, right?
Yeah.
He's not going to try anything difficult. I think the rehabilitation of Brahim Diaz this season, not rehabilitation, because
he was good.
He's shown that I think he belongs at Real Madrid, and I really hope he sticks around next season, doesn't somehow get sacrificed, because balance is a thing. Balance, not every formation should be symmetrical, but balance matters. What'd you make of Vinicius?
I mean, he's decisive in a way because he scores the penalty. He gave the assist to the Lucas Vázquez goal. This is not his best position. We know it. When he has to play a bit more central, he will have to get used to it, because when Kylian comes, this is how they're going to play. This is the team. You change. Modric won't be there next season. Put, I don't know, Cruz, Camavinga, Valverde, or Cruz, Tchouaméni, but whoever you want there in the midfield three. Then Bellingham will have that free role that we discussed earlier, and then Kylian and Vini will be the two front players with a lot of fluidity, with quite a lot of freedom as well. But Vini will have to play there at times, and I've got no issue with it. We saw against City that he's getting better at making those runs from central areas into behind the defense, like he did on the Rodrigo goal at the Etihad. And yesterday, there's good moments. Yeah, if you want him more involved, then go back to a 4-3-3 and just feed him the ball all the time on the left wing. But they're never going to play like that again, I think.
Are we sure that Bellingham's still going to play that? I mean, we're projecting the future. I just wonder if maybe we aren't going to see Bellingham further back. Maybe a different setup. I don't think Carlo has ruled that out at all.
Why would they change though?
I don't want to. You could think of perhaps more of a 4-4-2, potentially.
So, but where is Bellingham in the 4-4-2? So who are the four?
The Bellingham, Tchouaméni, Kroos, and Valverde.
Oh, so a diamond midfield. Yeah, so two up front. Yeah,
you can call it a diamond, but having Bellingham
a flat 4-4-2. Who are the four in midfield in the flat 4-4-2?
Bellingham and Tchouaméni as a base, and then you could experiment with Rodrigo on the left.
Okay, yeah. So
to rounding out the four, there's the option of obviously Camavinga on the left in the four if you get a left back. I mean, you have. I guess in some ways, while it's suboptimal that if Mbappe arrives, he plays the same natural position if you want as Vinicius. Equally, you have a piece of clay and you have so many options, and that's why I think preseason is going to be so important for Real Madrid next season and for Carlo to figure out how these pieces fit together, because you really have an enormous amount of combinations. I wouldn't discount Brahim Diaz either. We mentioned Davies, right? If Davies comes, and again, it's looking that way, I mean, Davies is not a defensive left back, right? And you have Carvajal on the other side. How does that affect you on that side? Does Carvajal play more tucked in necessarily? Do you have Kroos in front of Davies, since Davies is just going to run past them all the time?
No, Camavinga on the left, then that's perfect.
Or somebody like him.
I think the diamond midfield and the way they play now is perfect for Kylian. It's perfect for the midfield they have. You can play a lot of midfielders, so you can play Valverde, Cruz, Tchouaméni, and Bellingham in that four.
You're not going to press when you do that, or you're not going to press high anyway
if you want to. But it gives you so much balance, and the way you occupy the pitch is so nicely done. For me, he chose that this season because they've known for a long time now that Kylian was coming.
Over to Barcelona, when we look at this, I don't say the season's over, but it kind of is over. They will. I don't think it makes any difference if they finish second or third. I think they'll finish second anyway. Yeah. Although you don't know we're impressive, as we'll see later.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you kind of reset and reload from? Because you've got the issue with the manager.
Yeah. Where do you even go? So do you go Rafa Marquez, which seems to be right now
the cheap and cheerful option?
Because you have no money, or because you really think that he's a good manager and can do a job there? Because he knows the club?
He knows the club. I interviewed him once years ago when he was still a player, and I was not particularly impressed at all.
Yeah.
And it was that Rafa Marquez, not the other Rafa Marquez who also played for Mexico. Again, I don't. watched Barcelona be. I'm not in a position to kind of judge where that goes. I think the difficulty is if you start with Rafa Marquez and things don't work out, you've really sent the message that, we don't have a pot to go to the toilet in anymore. Yeah. The Lewandowski situation, you can sit around and he's got a year left. You can sit around and, maybe hope that suddenly he wants to experience Neom in Saudi Arabia. Yeah. That would work out well for him. Yeah. If not, I think you're going to have an issue there. Because I think handling the transition from Lewandowski to Vitor Roque, assuming that's your center forward, I don't think that's going to be easy. Gundogan's going to be a year older and probably just as outspoken as before. And while he brings so many good things and I don't always agree with him. As a journalist, I appreciate him being outspoken. Yeah. Sometimes at Barcelona, just the way, because of the nature of the club in this difficult situation, from Laporta's perspective, it's not always a good thing to have. You generally want people singing from the same hymn sheet. Yeah. Gavi will be back. That's a plus. Lamine Yamal's back. I go back to this. João Felix, if you want to keep him, you go to him and you say, we have to find some sort of solution here. But he has that big contract extension with Atletico Madrid. Yeah. I don't see how he can, even if he cuts his salary, I don't see how he can he can cut back, because essentially, again, amortization, that word again, it's costing Atletico Madrid millions to have him play for Barcelona.
For them it's not a good idea.
No, it's not good for them. Rafinha is somebody that assuming Lewandowski stays, Rafinha is the other guy you can get money for, but is he really somebody you want to move on?
I don't think so.
Ansu Fati will be back. Yeah. You loan him out again. There's just so many questions, and the guy who, there's positive. Kubarsi's a positive. Okay, great.
Yeah, of course.
Fermin Lopez, I think, is a positive, although I went so many Barcelona fans who told me, oh yeah, he's great, but he's a squad player. He'll never start for this team, unless people are injured. Okay, fine. I guess Pablo Torre will be back. I don't. He hasn't done great things this year, but he's a player anyway. It's a tough situation, and what would worry me is Deco's the guy Deco Laporta, the guy who's driving the bus. Yeah, on the technical side,
and that's what maybe they're struggling with. Who can come next outside of Rafa Marquez? Because if you De Zerbi really or Tuchel, do you go to that mess? Do you go to, despite all the great young players they have coming through, La Masias? Everything you want, the rest, even financially, can they afford any new signing this summer? Do they just have to sell and try to reinvest that money? I don't know. It doesn't look that appealing and attractive.
What if you push your chips to the middle of the table and take Micha from Girona? You wouldn't have to move house.
No. True. He's next door.
The Girona fans, who many of them are Barcelona fans,
they'll be okay with that.
I just think at some point you're going to have to think outside the box, because if you believe that you have a transformational manager, right, somebody that's worth chucking money at, who can make you make that leap, that guy is going to want control and resources and a say and a budget. And if you bring in a Tuchel and you're like, oh yeah, but look, Leva's gone because he's got a year left, he wants a new contract, he's not happy, or look, we've had to sell Rafinha and João Felix is, it gets really, really difficult. Yeah. I think this is a big, big summer ahead for Barcelona.